What if your fertility timeline isn't broken, but it's speaking? And what if the unexplained has explanations your labs can't see? Stay with me. Welcome back to Fertile Frequencies Radio. I'm Lindsay, and today we're embracing the journey with Laetitia Felix, a fertility and pregnancy after loss coach and Mind-Body Soul Practitioner who works with the whole woman because everything is connected. After a 4-year path through adenomyosis, low AMH, unexplained infertility, multiple losses, including 3 ectopic pregnancies, she conceived naturally at 40 years old. Now she supports women navigating the unexplained and pregnancy after loss, helping them uncover subconscious, emotional, and energetic blocks, process grief, and reconnect with their bodies and intuition. With a deep belief in the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual connection, she blends somatic, energetic, and mindset therapies to release blocks at every level, restoring empowerment, clarity, calm, and trust. If your body is asking for gentler, truer path, this conversation is for you. Make sure to tap follow, keep tuning in, and let's tune in to your fertile frequencies. Do you feel like there is way more to your success than the tired, worn out idea that your fertility is only about your physical body? Well, beautiful mama, you're in the right place. Welcome to Fertile Frequencies Radio, the radio show created for you to empower you on your fertility journey and finally give you a baby. Join me, Lindsay Goodwin, natural reproductive medicine and energetic spiritual fertility expert, as we clear away the doubts, reframe the struggles into fertile wins, and turn the what-ifs into big celebrations. Together, we'll unlock the tools to manifest your healthy pregnancy and baby. Fertile Frequencies Radio, your infinite fertile possibilities, begins now. Well, welcome back to Fertile Frequencies Radio. I am so excited for my guest today, Laetitia Felix. She is located in London, so we are talking with her from amazing London. I'm just so excited to have her on the show. Welcome, Laetitia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Yes. Well, we're so excited too. And so just jumping right in, I'm so curious to know, what is pregnancy after loss coach? I mean, that I get what that is, but I'm curious to know, what is a mind body soul practitioner?
Yeah, sure. So basically, originally I called myself fertility coach. I suppose, that's the broad name a lot of people use, but I felt like I was doing a lot more than that in my work. So fertility coach, I work with my NLP mindset coaching. Um, but then I work with the energy. I work also with the emotional. So really, I bring together the subconscious, the emotional, and the energetic side of the woman, and we align everything with the body. So it's as my name obviously says, it's a mind, body, and soul journey. Um, I don't just work with the mindset, if that makes sense. I just really align the whole. It's a holistic approach to the whole of the woman. So we dive into the mind, but we align it with the body, and the energetic space is all working together because it's all linked to fertility. So that is why I call myself Mind Body Soul Practitioner. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love that. And it really is so important to consider all aspects and really that multi layered parts of us. We're not just a body, we're not just a mind. We are so much more than that. And someone that just really looking forward to getting in more detail about your journey and really how you led down this path. So, as far as the pregnancy and after loss coach, that's really great as well. I mean, of course, that's not great when people are going through that, but it's great that you provide that for
Yeah.
people because that's also an area that can be so hard. And as someone that has worked in fertility for many years, I can tell you, as on the practitioner side, that is not, there's not as much there's not enough resources for that. So the more
Mhm.
people that are coming out, that are providing that service for women that are going through that, and couples, men too, men experience a lot with the loss as well. Um,
Yeah.
it's incredible. So thank you so much for devoting your life and energy to that as well. I'm so excited to talk about your journey. And so you had your daughter at 40 years old.
Yeah, that's right. I did. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, she's amazing. And I'm so glad I haven't given up because, the journey was quite complicated, to say the least. But yeah, I conceived her naturally at just 2 months, June, and I turned 40 in September. So yeah, just a few months before I turned 40. So, well, I started about 4 years prior to conceive her. So that would have been actually almost 10 years ago now because that was 2015. Yeah, we are coming to the 10th year. Um, so I never even imagined, to be honest, I haven't heard at that point. I didn't know much about, of course, I knew what miscarriage or what loss was, but I feel like um, in fact, I think my mom had a loss, but for some reason, it was not something that was a fear of mine. I always believed I would be a mom. So I met my partner quite late in life, as in like late. He wasn't in my 20s, it was early 30s. It's not too late, but like we were not together for so long when we start trying. And yeah, I guess I thought we're gonna travel for a bit first. We're gonna do that, and I thought naively, well, when we start, that's it. This is what's gonna happen. I just have to decide what point do I want my child. This is
Mhm.
how this is how I thought it would be. So I actually didn't do any test, anything. I just stopped. Well, I stopped the pill. So let's start again. I had adenomyosis before I knew I was trying to when I was conceiving. Um, but I didn't think it would be a block of any kind. And I think that's the issue as well. Then I stopped the pill at the beginning, maybe 2 years or 2 years before we started the process. Um, and yeah, now I'm understanding how that works as well. You tell your body for so long not to get pregnant. You give the
Right.
pill for so long. I mean, I think even my diagnosis was since I was probably 16. That's when I had all the painful period and everything. But I was given the pill to stop it. I was not given any investigation at the time. And this is just to bring a bit of awareness because I feel it's so important to listen to your cycle. I know it's not what we were talking about, but just listen to your cycle, look at the signs. And I feel for me, the pill is not the one. Sorry if I'm being, but that's what I believe in. So I had the pill for so long, from 16 to 31, perhaps, or 30. And so when I stopped the pill, bingo, everything became so much worse than when I was 16. All the symptoms, everything was just horrendous. And that's when I did the test and I was diagnosed with adenomyosis. Um, which is when the tissue grows on the probably you probably know, but if anyone doesn't know, is the cyst of they call it the cyst of endometriosis. So the tissues grow on the muscle wall of your uterus, and it's also causing sometimes fertility issues, lots of bleeding, pain, all of that. So um, bearing that in mind, I still, thought, okay, I was taking medication. Again, at that time, I wasn't aware of what I was putting in my body. So they told me I have adenomyosis. And then they said, okay, just take those pills and you'll stop the bleeding. Again, did something that I shouldn't have done, but I did. And so we started the process and I got pregnant within 6 months. So that was fairly easy. Um, I was in shock, in fact. I was like, "Oh, wow." Everyone says from 35 it gets difficult, but, it was kind of easy for me, and I didn't last very long, but it was the only time that I could celebrate as such a pregnancy because once you have had a loss and then you get that test, a positive test, it becomes fear, anxiety, stress, you excited, but at the same time you fear something else. So anyway, that was the first time I had the real and the last time, to be fair, that I had the real excitement, celebration. I even announced to my partner the pregnancy on his birthday, so everything was perfect. Fast forward towards maybe 2 weeks later, started bleeding. Um, didn't have much pain, but I was having an ectopic pregnancy. So that was a shock because first I didn't know what ectopic was, and I did, it was completely a complete shock. I didn't think that would even ever happen to me. Um, Again, we know how many women suffer from loss. It's again very naive, but I'm just saying from my perspective at that time. Um, and I think the worst was that you completely lose control at that point. So ectopic pregnancies can get really like life threatening. Thankfully, that wasn't for me. But it's very serious condition. So I had on my left fallopian tube, and I was given the medication to terminate the pregnancy, which is it's called methotrexate. I don't know, you probably heard from your clients. It's very very strong, and as if it wasn't enough, I've had to have a second dose of methotrexate. Um, so, I won't go into. I don't know how much you want to know, but basically, from the pregnancy in May to the time he finished it, it was in August. So it took me that long, going to hospital, blood tests, pain, all of that to actually terminate that pregnancy. It took quite a long time. Um, and then, of course, the shock of it. I think when you go physically into something so traumatic, I mean, for me, I wasn't processing emotionally. And that's, I think, the theme of my story towards on the conception is throughout my next three losses, I never stopped to process emotionally anything. I just I just thought, okay, I need to find a solution. I'm a solution seeker. I need to find what is not working. So yeah, let's find solution, keep going, keep going. So that's the theme of the way I was like. But yeah, so I started to have symptoms following that. Now I understand it was due to that strong medication. Although they tell you to wait 3 months to conceive again, they start having allergy symptoms, gut issues, stress, anxiety, which I don't think was just linked to the loss. I think there was more to it in my body. So a lot of things my body was signaling wasn't aligned, wasn't right. I still didn't protect myself. We tried again, and I had an early loss 6 months after. I think it was towards the end of the year around December. And then from then on, I had another two ectopic, one each year. So this is just to give you the timeline of it. And then all three ectopic were on the left tube. Um, so when I had the second loss at that point, I thought, okay, my physical symptoms are really getting serious. Something is not right. That's when I consulted a naturopath. And yeah, between just to interrupt that thing, I think that's so important as well to really consult someone who's like that, look at the holistic side of the physical body. So that's not my specialty, but I always, tell my client to really check, not just, of course, your hormones, your blood test, everything, but there was so much more for me, my liver, my guts, everything. And as we now know, the gut is directly linked as well to fertility, um, digestive system and everything. So anyway, I consulted a naturopath. She helped me a lot. And we managed to really actually remove all my symptoms. I had to do quite a lot of detox, liver detox, everything that went in my body basically needed to get out. So a lot of detox to balance hormone, reduce inflammation, all of that. And also I turned to angelic Reiki towards that same period. I feel like I needed something. Um, I was always spiritual, but I feel like I was being called to do something bigger than me, something that I felt like I wouldn't be alone, and I kept hearing the word Reiki, 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 and I thought, what is Reiki? And that's when I came across angelic Reiki, and that's beautiful, gentle healing, but very powerful and really helped me on my journey. Um, and I did all the tests at that point. What I mean by the test is obviously 2 losses later, I thought, okay, I need to start now, all the medical tests, all right? The blood tests, the hormones, the scans, everything. And at that point, my doctors were saying that I've got very low AMH. Wha I know I've got adenomyosis. What else did they say? Well, I'm approaching 40. I'm past 35. So, yeah, my profile wasn't very exciting. To them, it was like, well, you gotta do IVF. That's your only option. Um, I think I was a bit in shock because I thought it it's not IVF or no IVF, but can we actually see why I'm having those losses? And this is when the unexplained diagnosis comes along. Um,
Mhm.
and that's very hard to swallow for a woman that going through that, and like there can't be no explanation, surely. And the only option you're giving me, it's something that could actually still create ectopic pregnancy. So there's nothing they can say. I've obviously had the tube tested and everything. There was nothing wrong with my tubes. So yeah, keep going, kept on going. But I declined IVF at that point. I did some searches and I just didn't feel like it resonated with me or my partner at the time. Um, and sorry, I'm trying to think what else happened. Then the second ectopic and then the third ectopic. At that point, I was losing myself as I was going, like I was disconnected to my own self. I was becoming fear driven. Like the fear was driving me, but at the same time, the obsession was also driving me, if that makes sense. Like obsession by that I mean like I just have to keep going. This needs to happen you know but the fear is so strong, and every time there was a loss, it was really like I can only my heart goes to all women going through that, because I know how much it takes to really have the courage to start again, to after
Yeah.
each loss. You want to, but it's a battle between the fear and the faith, and it's just so hard. So after the third ectopic,
Well, Leticia, one sec. I just want to
yeah,
ask you something real quick.
yeah,
I want to bring up a few things, just so people that are listening, as an energy practitioner that is very, you do a lot of emotional energy healing work with your clients and with yourself as well, and just your journey. Have you ever thought about this? This is interesting. Your left tube and ovary is going to be controlled by the right side of the brain, because if we remember, the right side of the brain's opposite controls the left side of the body. So the right side of the brain is going to be more of that creative feminine energy. So it's interesting to note, and I will tell you that I've had a lot of clients that have had specifically issues on the left ovary and tube, which is interesting because that would
interesting.
be the feminine side. So here we're talking about fertility, we're talking about creation, and so if we have maybe our masculine and feminine energies off a little bit, maybe we're trying to be too A-type personality, controlling everything. That you're talking about fear, am I in the warrior mode? Am I like trying to fight against my journey and what's meant for me kind of thing? And so the body is responding. So it's interesting to note that that left side of the body is going to be more of the creative feminine energy. So I just wanted to bring that up. And I did have a question about your tube, on the left side. You had mentioned that they did take a look, everything was good, there wasn't any issues there. You did not have the tube removed, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's good to know, because a lot of times when we have ectopic pregnancies, the tube gets removed. So you
Yes,
guys.
I was, as I said, the methotrexate was the first method they've used.
Mhm.
Thankfully, but this is out of our control, to be honest. So it's not to put like blame or shame on myself for having taken the medication, or any woman that do, because once you're in it, that's there's no choice. It's either expectant management or that medication, and the third would be the operation, where, as you mentioned, removing the tube. Um, so the other two ectopic I've had, I was in my chat, in my, it was hard, but I was lucky enough to have expectant management, which means my body released the pregnancy on its own. So yeah, but I kept my tubes and I still have them to this day. So yeah.
Yeah,
But
well,
I love that you picked up on that. It's something I've realized way after. And someone, I think, was my healer that I always also go to. And she was like, "But that's your feminine side, you know, and there
yeah.
has to be something with that." And I was very much thinking with my mind and having to tick the box, being efficient, being like, you know, proactive, trying to find a solution, but I wasn't going within. That's definitely something I wasn't doing. So it is interesting. And I guess I had the message 3 times, but I was not getting it. I'm not saying that's the only reason. Obviously, we don't know all the reasons, but yeah, I like that you picked up on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I want to maybe this is a good point to lead into talking about you getting into this work that you're helping other people with through your own transformation, your fertility transformation. Um, what did you learn about yourself when you think about what we were just talking about with being more in the feminine energy and letting go of the control and really of that A type personality, which would be more of the masculine, logical sort of brain? What do you feel that you learned? Like, how did that help you grow?
Yeah. Well, I've only learned it once I've had my fourth loss, and I realized I was always doing the same thing, basically. And I was not getting anywhere. In fact, I was losing myself. And that's what I meant by being disconnected. I feel like I was giving my power away. I was becoming the shadow of myself. I was becoming very negative as well. I felt like I was losing control, but not just because I didn't know when the pregnancy would happen or if it would happen, but just losing control of my life, the way I was dealing with things. My nervous system was completely like a wreck. It was so what I've learned after that, okay, if I want to change something, maybe I need to stop for a second, all right? I need because I've never stopped from the moment it all happened. So I guess the first thing I did was stop the race. Not that doesn't mean giving up. I just meant stop and think about it for a second. Think about what is it that I can be doing different? What have I missed? What have I missed? And there was this very, very quiet voice. I've always been kind of intuitive, but I was kind of like doubting it because I was like, well, clearly I thought I was be a mom all this time and now this is happening. So, all of that. But there was this quiet voice telling me there's more to it than that. Okay. I think the first thing I've learned is that stopping for resetting is not giving up. It doesn't mean that because we obviously have this pressure of the time, the clock ticking, we know the time, the age. And trust me, I've heard it for so long. All the doctors I've seen, they all said the same thing. So, how can you have a healthy fertility mindset when the doctors put it in your all the time? You're going to be 40 or you're turning like so all of that. So yeah, I think what I've learned is to go inward. The answers were within me. And what I mean by that, and I think there's so many different things I've learned, but processing and healing from everything I've been through was very major for me. That was the thing, number one. Um, because I was in denial that it was still going to happen, but I was living on fear. I was like very stressed. It was getting chronic stress. And again, conceive when you have an unexplained diagnosis. So any other issues that can come along the way, it's going to be stressful. So it is human to be stressed. I'm not saying you can't be stressed, but generally it was becoming chronic stress. It was becoming very unhealthy. Um, so for me, I I kind of left the conception out of the equation for about 6 to 8 months. I decided to reconnect with myself, my soul, my higher self,
Mhm.
listen to the answers within. So I started meditation again. We took holiday with my partner and we decided, you know what, we're not talking about conception. We're not even trying.
Mhm.
We are we
Mhm.
just reconnecting you and me. And that was beautiful because to be honest, that is also very something that we don't always talk about, but the relationship takes its toll, and I felt such a shame and blaming myself for it because I felt this is something wrong with me, with my body. So therefore, I can't even give him a child, and that so much going on into my mind. So felt like reconnect with myself, reconnect with him and enjoy, have fun, bring back the joy because the joy was lost like years before. Um, and so then I've started to do the emotional work as well after the holidays. And what I mean by that is that it's not always comfortable, but going through all the triggers, what was still in my head, like all the words I've heard in the hospital that would really, stay in my mind, like, it's in the left tube again. I was, it was almost like a PTSD type of thing. So that's when I discovered emotional freedom technique. Really helped me to process all the emotions and so everything that was unresolved, the grief, the fear, the self-doubt, the limited beliefs, everything was what I worked on in the next 6 months. Um, but as I said, like brought back the positive aspect as well to bringing joy, have fun. Who am I outside of conception? How can I find myself again? Because clearly I can't recognize myself. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your question. So all of that was, things that have helped me immensely. The reconnection, the emotional healing, the energetic healing. I did a lot of womb healing as well, um, which I didn't do myself. I went to see someone to teach me how to do that on myself. Um, and I realized at that point that everything was connected. Okay, everything. And the thing that really helped me as well was speak to someone that was as you would know, like yourself, that communicate with baby spirits. And that's, I don't know if you want me to talk about that, but that's also something that I've learned about and that I've discovered during that break. That gave me some answers as well. So yeah, there's a lot that helped me, but generally, like, yeah, I don't know if that answers pretty much the
No,
question.
it absolutely does. Before we move on to spirit babies, because I definitely want to talk about that and how you found spirit babies. But as far as what you just were talking about in your own journey, what sort of advice do you think that you would give someone that could be listening to this podcast about how they could find joy? And because that is something I talk a lot about is that in any sort of manifesting, and babies are manifestation, it's something coming into your life. Being in the vibrational frequency of joy is going to allow the energy to be able to come to you. So it makes you magnetic. And so, what sort of advice or different techniques, or just briefly, just kind of tell us that you might say to someone that's struggling right now with that?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think the first thing I would say, there are a few things, but the first thing I would say is go back to yourself. So what I mean by that is once you start to listen, just be sitting with yourself. I don't know if if some people prefer to be in nature or like meditate, do some breathing technique. I think the first key is to, if you start from nowhere, I would say regulate your nervous system by really calming down. Give yourself some time with yourself every day. Um, and what I mean by that, I do practice breathing, so that to regulate the nervous system, meditation, um, and or just body scans to really like I feel bring awareness to how you're feeling first of all, because it's not just about bringing joy. It's also just, first of all, like what I tell my client is just check in and check out. Check in the morning. How do you feel? What, and the more you intuitively connect and you check in with your body, your mind, your soul into what you need, what's missing, what does my body need today? What does my mind need today? And it might not be like from one day to another, right? It takes practice, but it doesn't have to be complicated either. As I said, it could be just checking in every morning. If you are in tune, if you like journaling and that helps process emotions, that could be a tool to use as well. Um, And once you know what you need, you can have your little toolbox. What is it that raises your energy? For me, like if I listen to a music that picks me up, I've got my music downloads, like my Spotify thing, and I'm like, okay, feel good music. Let's raise the energy. There might be other day I need to be in nature because I really need that grounding and that. So it's really about getting to know yourself. Listen, because we have the answers. If your mind is too busy and it's got all like breathing is good or meditation is good, it will calm you. Or I like to do yoga, but it's not for everyone. It could be just walking. It could be doing something that like it could be painting. I know one of my clients does painting and it makes her just completely forget about anything else. She goes and loses herself within doing painting. And I think that's amazing. So it's not about exactly giving you what you need to do. I think it's about what makes you feel yourself, what brings you joy, what calms you down. And the more you ask yourself those questions, and again, you check in, and it could be that today you need something and tomorrow you need something else. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a daily thing to really be in touch with. And uh, the second thing I think is very important, and I tell everyone, is about self love and forgiveness, compassion towards yourself. I think we can be so hard on ourselves, so hard on ourselves. Um, but self love could be like giving your body mass, because the way as well, I feel like we speak to our body and how I used to be in that position. My body and I were almost like two different teams. I was like, well, you failed me. Like, on my team. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I was like, right.
Yeah.
So uh, I've moved away from that and I've realized how much my body's been working. So it's about it's about reframing, but also have your body, understanding your body is there to help you. It might needs help to be aligned, but you working together. So what does my body need? How can I bring love? How can I honor my womb? All of those things. How can I bring forgiveness to myself? I think forgiveness is major as well. Um,
Yeah.
Again, that's not answering your question on joy, but I'm just thinking that it's also a practice that I feel like sometimes you are in such a dark, difficult thing, about the shame, the all of that. You almost need to first bring self-love, compassion, and forgiveness before you can even decide to, okay, I will listen to myself. If that, so I think that's also a practice that is very important. And yeah, I offer different things for forgiveness. I do the Ho'oponopono prayer. I don't know if you heard of that in terms of forgiveness. But yeah, there's lots of different self love practices as well. But I would say, yeah, tuning in and check out daily um, to see what is it that you need to bring joy. And I think it's nice to, if your partner, have dates where you decide not to talk about conception, you know,
Yeah.
purposely, consciously do things outside of conception. I think that's important. And remember, what did you like outside of, you know, conception? Like, because sometimes you feel like you're going into a tunnel and then your life has now become this life of like just measuring temperature, taking supplement, this, that, the other. You completely lose who you were. So who were you before? What did you like? How can you find her again? Even if
Right.
it's not all the time, but how can you bring her back a little bit?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that, you're talking about a lot of things absolutely wonderful. I know you're speaking my words here as far as what I will help clients with is focusing less on the fertility journey. When people come to me, they have similar stories like yours. They've been through tons of trauma, tons of loss, generally are more of advanced maternal age. And we've gotta do something different because what you've been doing is not working. And so that can be hard, but I think by the time you find someone, maybe clients that you work with as well that have been through everything and they don't have any other options, you're ready to try something different. You're ready to really do something different and go all in a very different way than you were doing it before. And so taking the focus off the fertility journey and more on your growth. And of course, things that, in my programs and your programs, that we're doing things to help with the fertility, but it's more about getting someone to focus on themselves and their relationship with their partner. Because when you take the focus off so much of the goal, and your goal's still there, right? It's not going to go away, but you're
It's not going
focusing.
away.
Yeah, exactly. You're focusing more on that. Even when my clients come in for acupuncture, I don't want you to focus on, you know, I've got to do this fertility appointment, then I do acupuncture, and it gets to be so much. It's more of, I'm doing this to like help myself be in the best version of myself. I enjoy acupuncture because it's peaceful. It makes me feel good. I enjoy going to see my mind body soul coach because she makes me feel really good about myself. So we have to think of it that way too. We can't always focus on the fertility because that might be the whole reason why the universe is saying, look, I need you to focus more on yourself and remember you, and that you're the most important person in your life rather than focusing so much on someone else's journey. And your spirit baby is saying the same thing, that, hey, we got to focus on you so that when I come in, that you have the room for me. So everyone's journey is different, and we have to remember that we can't compare. That's also another thing too that can be difficult for people like yourself that have experienced a lot of, a transformational fertility journey that has been a lot, that you easily want to try to compare yourself. So getting off social media, not looking at that stuff, like trying to get away from it
Yeah,
and more into trying to, like you're saying, put yourself in positions where you feel happy and you're doing things that are creative energy and going outside and connecting with nature. And because that's a lot of what you're talking about, is the feminine energy and creating. And you talked about your client that painted, and being outside and connecting with your partner and enjoying sex. That's the other
mm,
thing too, is really enjoying intimacy with your partner, which gets lost in all the testing.
completely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The same way it becomes a very medical in most of the cases, the
Mhm,
same way the sex becomes robotic, not robotic, but you know what I'm saying. It's like, oh, we have 5 days window. Okay. I mean, how can that be romantic or even
mhm.
exciting eventually after years? Um, yeah, we're losing that side as well. I completely agree.
Yes,
And
yes,
I think also what I was about to say, when you talk about your client, and when we say about tapping your intuition and really reconnect with yourself, it's also because sometimes conception, I know it sounds now easy for me to say it, but it's not always about doing more, right? It's about knowing what is right for you,
Mhm,
what is right for you, because you very, as you said, you listen to anything you can read on, you can put your eyes on anything you're trying. Trust me, I've tried every powders. Maca powder was good, okay, I'll try that. Like another supplement is good, I'll try that. But eventually your body might not need all of that, and I'm sure it doesn't. It's just that by actually filtering and tapping into your intuition, and the same way for what you're taking in your body, but also what the people that needs to help you. Because it might be that a certain doctor is not right for you. It might be that you want another approach. So I think listening to that gut feeling,
mhm,
and yeah, what your voice is telling you, it's so important. It will filter for you things that you don't necessarily need. It could be that acupuncture. Acupuncture for me, it's always amazing. I'm still doing it now, so
right.
it's something that I would always advise. But it might not be good for everyone. I do not know, maybe. But genuinely, like, you don't have to do everything. That's what I mean. That's why tapping into your feminine side and intuition is key, really is. And in fact, if I can add that, is that when I had my third ectopic, the doctor told me, okay, we've got 10 minutes. We are going to the theater. We're going to remove your tube. And I was like, okay, wow, I thought the hormones were very, very low and we're going to have expectant management. And it's his answer, very not compassionate, was, well, you've had 3 ectopic. How many more do you want? That was his exact words.
Mhm.
I was taken by shock because I thought, well, it's not about what I want. I just want to understand if my body is in danger, is my health, anything is it a must do or is it because I've had 3 losses? Um, and he said, well, it's just to avoid a third, prevent a fourth one. And of course, I don't want to have a fourth ectopic. Who wants to have any losses? Um, so I didn't like this approach. And that's, I think, was the turning point where before I took my break was to listen to my gut again. And I was like, listen, I need to take the night to think about this, if that's okay. And I feel like in the hospital, I always tend to lose my power, I lose my voice. And this time I kind of managed to keep it together and say, no, I need to think about this. Long story short, I decided not to. And I said to my partner, I'll give you one more try. I feel like removing the tube is not what I should be doing. And especially given that I'm not in danger of any, and if, of course, if you are, it's a different story medically. But for me, it wasn't the reason. I didn't have almost any hormones left, any pregnancy hormones. So the year following that, after my break, when I conceived naturally, I conceived from the left tube, the same tube. I had the 3 ectopic and the same tube that doctor was gonna remove a year previous. So just to say that it doesn't matter what your doctors tell you. It doesn't matter if you've got a list long of 10, 20 things that, low AMH, you've got adenomyosis. I'm not saying it's a walk in the park. Of course, it's difficult, but it doesn't mean that it's a lost cause. It doesn't mean that the doctor says you have to do that. It's okay to have a think. It's okay to ask for a second opinion or to find your own tribe and decide that, okay, this is not the way I want to be talked to, or I don't want to work that way. So I'm going to find someone else, unless, of course, it's emergencies and you need help at the time. Do you know? So I just wanted to say that because it just confirmed about the whole nutrition and everything that I'm saying.
It's really powerful to share that, and because you have to listen to your intuition, you have to listen to your discernment. And I tell people all the time, if you really want to know the answer to something, listen to your own internal GPS system. The only thing that you can trust is yourself. I mean, of course, are there nice people out there? Yes, of course, we exist. I believe that's what the universe wants is for humans to look within for the answers versus so much externally. And that sort of time is over, and we've really been seeing a transformation in the last 5 years, even 10 years. I think it's really been apparent for the last 5 years since COVID where so many
Yeah,
people have started asking bigger questions. And there are a lot of people waking up to spirituality and energy and manifestation and, looking within for those answers. So it's only going to keep happening more. So people like us that are here empowering people to find their own power within are just going to keep coming out more and more and more. And I love it. I want everybody to feel empowered and in alignment with their purpose and feel good. And, I think we all have a right to have that. So let's do it. Let's teach as many people and awaken many as many people as we can to their power
yeah.
within. It's great. Yeah.
And I think that's what's amazing about, your work and what I do as well with my client is we're here to also teach them to get back their power. And it's an empowerment um help. It's okay, I give you the tools, but ultimately they are doing the healing. They are the one choosing that path. So yeah, completely agree as well, everything you say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, awesome. Well, listen, just if we could talk briefly about, I know you have quite a connection with spirit babies, and of course, probably anybody listening to this is I try to, a lot of people are interested in spirit babies, so obviously with what I do. So I really want you to talk about that, and just tell us about your journey, and then maybe some spirit baby messages that you've received, and maybe how you connect to spirit babies.
Yeah. So it's definitely something I'm very interested in. I didn't know about it until I was in that journey, and today I do want to introduce more of that in my work. I feel like it's something that it's calling me a lot more than before. But
Mhm.
yeah, to come back to where I've started, I consulted someone that was like you, a medium, and communicating with baby spirits. I think I was in a time where I needed to have answers, and that came across somewhere I was reading, and I thought, okay, that could be the answer. I didn't think anything of it, but again, as I said, I was already very spiritual. I did angelic Reiki that really opens up your spiritual channels and everything. So, I had something in me. But when I started, I consulted. I already had, I think, two, maybe losses or three. And the messages I had were from so so basically what I had was I had a daughter, right? When I conceived, I had a daughter. So my daughter wasn't the only one that was in the communication I had. So the first losses were baby spirits that that told me that they came just for my growth, for my spiritual, emotional, and growth, and that they were not meant to be born. That was not their life mission, or the path, the journey, the soul journey, I should say. Sorry. And so that was what they were meant to be doing, basically. And then there was a message for my daughter who she tried to come. I think it was the third time when I had the loss, and she said, "You are not like I wasn't ready yet."
Mhm.
But also, funny enough, that comes back to what you said earlier. The message I had was to reconnect as well with my partner. So that I think there was a message directly from her saying, "You and Daddy are very like um, I don't know if the word was disconnected or I can't remember exactly what it was, but along the lines of that, and that we need to work together like we are family." Like she was already involving herself as being a family, but she wasn't there, and that was completely mind blowing to me. I believe in all that anyway, but I think to hear that, and it was such a also a closure moment for me to understand that there's so much more to it than the actual, sperm meet the egg journey. That it's a soul journey, and you've talked about that so many times in your podcast. But it's our soul journey, it's our partner's soul journey, it's our baby spirit future baby's soul journey. So that also explained to me that it was, I think, towards the fourth one, I went to see someone twice. They talked about divine timing. I hated that word because I was like, what does that mean? Like, how long would that be? And you don't get the answer. But I think they're also meant to be born at a certain time. They have their own, as we said, journey. So that was the answers I got from that. And I think that was, well, there was other things like, the they described to me how what personality she'd have, and she knew a lot of things about me, what I needed to do and go back within and really like stop worrying about the time, the kind of surrendering to the universe, surrendering to this is part of my journey. And that's when it kind of hit me that I was like, that journey didn't happen to me, it happened for me, you
Right.
know? And to go to that conclusion is quite like transformational as well for your mind,
Mhm.
for your perspective. Um, so that's pretty much what I had. And then I obviously they gave me some tools, and I carried on after that communication to connect. And I think that was so beautiful. I used to go into a meditation and connect with my daughter before she was born. And actually, I have something very mind blowing about that. Well, I thought it was mind blowing. So I would always go into that really like safe space where I would, meditate and ask for her to meet me there in my meditation. So we'd always go there, and I put a swing there in my imagination, and something I really liked when I was a child. And we would go there, and it was also a boy with her, which we never know. I might have a second child. I still believe a second child is coming,
I
but
see a boy
I
attached to you.
sorry.
I've seen a boy. I've been seeing him jump around since the first moment that we got in this meeting today. So absolutely, there is one attached to you, as well as lots of messages about your daughter. So she has a very
Really?
playful sort of energy about her, and I think she was absolutely sending you a lot of messages, like playing a lot of like child games with you, not like games as in mind games, but like games as in that she was showing you a lot of like fun before she came in, is really what I'm picking up on.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was missing, right? Before, again, that 6, 8 month break, I was not having fun anymore. And that was her message: reconnect with daddy, um, stop stressing, surrender, trust, 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 and also go back and have fun. I was miserable, I must say, but that was obviously understandable. But once I started connect with her, she would always, as you said, send me signs. You can ask them, show me a sign that you're around, and that's so reassuring for someone, because then all of a sudden you relax more. It's if you knew deep down that was happening, right? If I knew from day one it was happening, I would never have I would have carried on living while I was having that conception journey, right? While I was trying, I would not have, and I felt like I'd stopped living for 3 years, completely. But what I thought was mind blowing is that, so fast forward, I communicated with her many, many times, until she was conceived. And she was 2 years old, going to nursery. She already was talking. And one day she said, we were having dinner at the table, and she randomly said, "Oh, remember, mommy, when we were on that swing with my little brother?" And I was like, what do you mean? You mean you went on a swing at the nursery? Or, I thought she was talking about her little friends at the nursery. But she described the space so like what we were in my meditation. Like, obviously, I said, "Who was off?" I said, "Was daddy there?" I said, "No, daddy wasn't there." No, he wasn't, because it was my meditation. I'm trying to think if he's really there. And I said, but you don't have I was trying to trick her. I said, "But you don't have a brother, a small brother, a younger brother?" And she said, "But it was a dream, mommy. Remember a dream?" And then she just changed subject, and she talked about something completely random. And that's how I find kids these days are so awake. You probably know more than that than I do, but they and she has so many things that she knows sometimes things that we're going to organize for her, do for her before it happens. Like, we want to make a surprise, and she knew like where we're going to take her. And she randomly says things. It's quite crazy, but yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was really interesting, because I definitely encourage, find the right practitioner, the right baby spirit communicator for sure. Find someone you resonate with, to then maybe teach you to do it yourself. I think that's the key.
Mhm.
But for me, that was, yeah, in a nutshell, what I did, and I still do it to this day, with that boy. uh, yeah, I think it's a very beautiful practice.
Yeah, that's just absolutely amazing. I mean, I had chills all over my body when you started talking about her telling you that story. I mean, it's just
You're right.
incredible. And for anyone listening to this that is doing spirit baby work and connecting with their spirit baby, and that's confirmation for you, Letitia's story and what she's experienced. And I mean, I've definitely read of other stories. I've had stories with clients as well, that have had similar situations. But you don't hear that all the time. So when you hear stories like that, and actually you're talking to someone that's experienced that, it's really incredible. And being able to share that with those that are listening for inspiration, because as you know, it can get very dark. You feel, are they listening? Is this actually working? And then when your daughter comes earthside and she tells you about the experience that no one else would know about besides you, and it was your imagination. And that just goes to show that the imagination is our connection to the universe. And that is a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
it really is. And so we're taught, as kids that, you get to be a certain age. That's just your imagination. Don't go there. Don't daydream, don't get too far into that creative energy because you got to be practical and you got to be logical and you got to fit into society and that sort of stuff. When we lose that, we're actually losing our connection to source, to the universe or God, whatever you prefer to call it. And that's unfortunate because then, you get to be, middle age or whatever age it is. I think for a lot of people, they start asking questions we're a little bit older. I don't like how this is going, or maybe it's a fertility journey that wakes you up, or maybe it's a near death experience like what happened to me. Then you start asking these questions and then you start doing the work to get back to what you were born into this world without all these limiting beliefs and all these patterns that have been put on top of you, generational trauma, ancestral trauma. And then now you're back and you're like, oh, wow, I can connect with my imagination. I can be in that infinite energy. And oh, I remember when I was 5, I actually used to be like this. It is very interesting. And as someone that is a mom, I'm sure that you are very open to making sure that your daughter stays connected to herself rather than, having the patterning that our generations had put on us. But kids are changing that are coming into the world and they just don't have the trauma as much. Our generations have done a lot of that trauma work of getting that cleared out of the way. So they definitely have an advantage that's different than and we had an advantage too. Everything's the way it's supposed to be,
Yeah, I think so.
different
And
work.
I think there's another thing about the work, and going inwards and doing that, as you said, the transformational journey to get to have your baby. There's about growth, and that's the message I got as well. But I feel like it's also to prepare you, to get you ready for those children coming. They are very like,
Yeah.
as I said, they're very connected to spirit, but they're very aware. They're very like, you know, um, you've got to be basically ready, and you've got to do your own work. I think the more you do your own work, your inner work, I think the better it is. You take it with you, and you prepare for motherhood. So I think it's, well, now again, I'm saying that from looking back. So, but again, that's what I believe in. It's part of the journey, the whole growth, everything that all the tools that you learn, everything that you do to reconnect, it's then leading you to motherhood. Um, and sometimes there's unfortunately no other way to get there than go through all the challenges, because otherwise you might not be open to do all the inner work. Sometimes that's, you know, universe has a funny way to put things on your path, right? So that's sometimes the way.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And, I've learned through my own transformation, this is just my perspective on it, that it's actually you putting it on your path. I use universe as well in my own journey, but for me, I feel like it's me. Like my higher self is
Mm,
creating different scenarios and situations to help me evolve based on what I'm asking for.
it's
So
true.
if you're asking, to be in a higher version of yourself, well, we have to understand that, or you're someone trying to get to bring your baby in on earth side, into your physical life, that, there are things that we have to do and you're going to have things come in that are not going to be exactly what you want. The universe doesn't give you what you want. The universe and your higher self gives you what you need, and that can be hard to swallow because you think, well, why would I do this to myself? Well,
Yeah.
it's not that you're doing anything to yourself. It's that you're helping yourself to evolve to be in that best version of yourself. And I also remind people that it's not just about getting the baby into your life. It's also about being the best version of yourself as a parent and really enjoying that child and yourself as a mom or a father. It's really amazing. And well, Leticia, I mean, your journey is absolutely incredible. We could talk for hours, I'm sure. I mean, we are definitely
Yeah.
so aligned and have so much in common. And I love it so much. I know that you are doing a lot of work with clients and you're helping a lot of people, and that's absolutely amazing. And how can someone find you as well as, I know that you've got some free gifts for our listeners here today, to some supporting materials. And so can you tell us where they can find that and how they can find you and kind of the way to get in touch with you to get help from you?
Yeah, of course. Well, I'm active on Instagram. They can reach me there. They can reach me on my website directly. I do offer 3 discovery call if we can discuss what I offer in terms of packages. I do various packages for conception, but also conception after loss and pregnancy after loss as well. But actually, in the pregnancy after loss package, I also include it could be loss or birth trauma because a lot of my clients now want to heal on birth trauma while they're pregnant or even before, but like generally to before they conceive a second time. So yeah, all my packages are online. So it's on www.mindbodyandsoul.com. Um, what else? Yes. So basically I really meet my clients where they are. So there's gonna be bundles, smaller sessions, but I also offer longer packages of 10 weeks. Depending what they are after. And in all my sessions, I always involve like energy healing, emotional healing, as I said, and mindset healing. So it's really to create the inner environment for mind, body, and soul to connect and align with fertility. And yeah, you mentioned the gift. So I created monthly cycle journal prompts. So it's like a collection of prompts through your cycle. So really that helps bring awareness to your feelings, the blocks, but also connect with your cycle. I think it's very important and to tune into the wisdom of it. So yeah, that goes through all the phases of your cycle and you can get the prompts on there. And the gift number 2 is affirmation audio track for conception. So that's something that speaks directly to your conscious and unconscious mind and help you really plant the seeds of belief, trust, and possibility. You can listen to in the background. I do like to give affirmation. It's not for everyone, but like me, I like it to have in the background recorded. So even if you're doing something, doing your hair or whatever, you listen to it, and you know, it's starting to plant the seeds for that. So hopefully, um, that will be helpful for your listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And I will make sure that I link all that in the show notes so you can easily find Laetitia and also take advantage of her wonderful supporting material. You're helping so many people. And I am so grateful for people like you that are out here and sharing your story and really giving other people the opportunity to know that there is hope at the end and that it is happening for them because it's happened for you and you know
Mm,
that. And so you speak with heart and soul,
mm,
that this is happening for them as well. And I truly believe that if you have desire for something, that there's a version of you that already has it. So don't
mm.
give up. And I'm sure that you would absolutely agree. So, well, listen, Leticia, it was absolutely wonderful to have you on today. And thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
If this episode gave you clarity or calm, do 2 quick things now. Tap follow so the next step lands right on time, and leave us a 5-star review so this work reaches the women and couples who need it. Then open the show notes and grab your 2 free gifts: the monthly cycle journal prompts and an affirmation audio for your healthy conception. They're short, soothing, and designed to shift your body into fertile frequencies today. Share this episode with one friend on the path and let her or him know she or he is not alone. And remember, your support means the world to us. For us to keep this podcast going and to share all of this wonderful information, we need your support. We love supporting you, but we need your support to continue doing so. And join me in the next episode where we're diving into guided visualizations to connect with your baby, practices to strengthen your relationship, and spark building intimacy tools to bring the glow back, gentle nervous system safe, and tools that are actually doable. Hit that follow button now and don't miss it. And until next time, beautiful, regulate, receive, and stay in your fertile frequencies. See you in the next episode.